and so on and so forth.
Alright, so it's gonna be TKA first opener, cap second.
Wait,
And
what's
then
the topic anyways?
Theism.
Is that it?
Well, is theism true?
Okay.
So will it go like TK opener, cap opener, and then TKA cross exam, and then cap cross exam, open dialogue, and then
How many rounds of
TKA
cross exam?
1, right?
Just one?
Or I mean 2, considering like
Well, like one each, yeah.
yeah, 1 each, I guess.
Oh, I was thinking like two, like one, like 20 minutes worth of dialogue or dialectic conversation.
Isn't that open dialogue 20 minutes?
No, like I was thinking, but I may be mistaken, but like I was
Wait,
thinking
hurry,
like
hurry, hurry.
5
Just
minutes.
however you want. Just give the structure of the cross exam because that's the only thing we're asking about.
Yeah, so a 5 minute cross examination, affirmative, 5 minutes negation, 5 minutes affirmative, 5 minutes negation.
Okay, got it.
Unless anyone
Alright.
has an objection to that.
I don't care. We start in 3
I think
minutes.
one of our interlocutors is not showing up.
No, TK is here. He's just on his different account.
Oh. I think we're gonna wait until Autumn comes back at least.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even 9 yet, so.
So who's all judging me, Tristan, and Kiki?
Yeah.
I mean, TK doesn't even want judges, so
Yeah, well,
he just wants.
I mean,
All TK is doing is just for the recording of him talking to Kath. So he doesn't want any
I
points. He
guess.
doesn't want any judges. He doesn't want any moderation.
But like that's not an
See that they
active
don't want any
dialectic
moderation.
or
Where do you get
form of
that part
debate.
from? I'm fine
Your
with
own voice.
moderation.
Well, wait, who's the mod again?
Don't put words in my mouth. I can pick it. So long as you're unbiased, you can be a moderator. It could be you or Rue, just to make sure it's the spur off, because I don't want to bully this kid and make him commit suicide tonight. So, if I step out of line, just mute me, for example. If there's too much spurging going on, we can just interrupt each other and be like, hey, calm down. I'm fine with moderation. I just don't give a shit about judges. I don't use judges to dictate who wins my debate. My debates are one based off the objective facts, not people's opinions, especially from people with all due respect. I think their competence is questionable. Yeah, that's just it.
Well, if we all vote for you, then will you still say our competence is questionable?
Yeah. I don't think you guys are good at
Okay.
debating like that. I don't care about polls either. Even when I win polls on record and I say I don't care about if I win the polls or not, I determine my debates based off the actual points. And this is recorded on numerous different occasions. So, yeah.
And these points are as structured as the laws of physics. To your understanding, right?
Not like the laws of
Yet,
physics.
yet,
It's
no,
not structured like the laws.
yet nobody can pick them, right? Nobody can determine who won the point.
Nobody determines them, but we can know who win the points
How's that?
by using epistemology. Like,
Oh man,
you apply the principles
you're
of
a funny
debate.
guy, TK. You're
You're
a funny
sorry?
guy.
I think we're gonna wait till Autumn.
The chief joined.
Yeah,
Look,
Haru, I
it's
want you
gonna
to
start
mod.
now. I need this guy to hurry and join to record. I mean,
Yeah, we're
Professor's
chill.
already here to record. I want Focus to join also. I want there to be more than one recordings, just in case one obvious record fail. Okay, I'm gonna get Karen back in the voice call. Join now. Debate is gonna start.
keeping track and modding. This is insane. But like,
Let's just spam ping this nigga over and over and over.
Someone ping everyone so they can join.
1, 2,
I don't think everyone's
there.
in here.
Let's Karen join the VC yet? Okay, finally, that's my boy. Yo, Karen, mic up. Mic up. Yes. Yeah, so you're on PC, right? So you can always record, right?
I can record.
Okay, got you. Make sure you record the audio also, not just the screen, like some retards, okay? And Professor, same goes for you. Make sure you guys have the recording. And of course, send it to me after you guys are done. After I'm done killing this guy. So, Cap, it's past 9 o'clock actually, so we should be ready to start the debate. You should be ready.
Yeah,
So,
we're waiting.
Yeah, we're ready to
for
start.
Yeah, I thought we were
all
waiting for
right.
the
So I'm
host
just
of
gonna
the
go
event.
for it.
We were waiting for the host of the event first.
Oh yeah, Autumn said she'll be right back.
Nigga, come on, bro.
Can't wait 2
Oh
minutes.
my god.
No, I'm back. Hold on.
All right. So can I give my opening introductions for the recording? Cause I'm hyped up. I'm hyped up. Yes, sir.
So the way that this debate will be structured is 3 minute opening statement for the affirmative and the
Love it.
negation, and then there's 2 rounds of
Mm-hmm.
5 minute cross examination. Then there's a 20-minute open discussion, and then there's a 5 minute closer during the cross examination. You could easily say I reclaim my time for the question if your opponent is
Mm-hmm.
obfuscating or actively interrupting you or in telling, and I will
Mm-hmm.
reset the time for that question or question amount.
Mm-hmm. So far, so good. I like the vibe right now. So I'm gonna go forth and give my opening because I'm the theister. I'm on the positive. So of course, I'll be defending the theistic position for the recording against a low IQ suburban monkey named Cap. He is going to be taking the agnostic position, whatever position he's going to take. Doesn't really matter anyways, but I presume he's going to be taking the skeptical stance because he does not have the intestinal fortitude to actually defend the claim. With that being said, I'll be relying on a particular argument which I've used on so many different occasions to slam so many different low IQ atheists. It's an argument predicated upon some sort of informational structural realist position which grounds my mid-ontology. And I basically established. Sorry about that, by the way. I'm outside right now, so sorry about that. So I was going to say that I have an argument which is grounded based off informational structural realism, and basically how it goes is I'm using this sort of meta ontology to ground or to determine that God exists. Theism is actually true. And so the idea is basically that I'll present the formalized argument in the chat, and I'll also present a separate argument as to why the being that's being concluded upon based on this argumentative content is going to also possess the characteristic of being omniscient. So, just to be clear, I'll be defining God to be an omnipotent, omniscient being who created the universe. No, that's going to be the definition of God given the debate topic itself and what you're going to be debating upon. There's not really that much to touch upon with respects to the introduction and whatever I would like to basically reveal moving forward for this debate, for the opening statement. So that's really just it. So I'm just going to pass the mic over to the retard and see whatever Japanese he got to say just to convince us that he's someone not retarded. So go for it, Cap. It's your turn, bitch boy. Respond.
Yeah. This
Well,
individual had 1 minute and 17 seconds left on the clock. Cap, go ahead when you are ready.
yeah. So I'm pretty sure I understand the argument that he's going to be using. It's going to go something like, if ISR is true, then that with conceptual or semantical conditions necessarily exists. ISR is true. You get the gist. He's saying God's a concept, and there's a logical impossibility. I'll be focusing primarily on premise 6 of his argument, the claim that God cannot exist as merely a concept. I'll demonstrate that this premise is going to rest on a fundamental equivocation between concepts and their reference. And once this equivocation is exposed, the entire argument collapses. I look forward to examining the formal argument when it's presented. I can see my time.
Yeah, you had 2 minutes and 17 seconds left on the clock. This will conclude the opening statements, and we will go into the first round of cross-examinations. This round is 5 minutes. TK, whenever you say your first word, I'll start the timer.
Okay, you can start the timer right now. Actually, this is cross-examination aspect, right? I guess it's cross-examination part.
Yes.
So I'll just present my argument in the chat, and we're just gonna go over the argument together. I'm gonna just basically walk the retard through the argument and see if he's able to properly characterize the position and the argument I'll be defending here. So I'll just give the arguments right now. Let me just go for my argument. Just copy and paste this. Okay, so you say you contend premise 6, and you believe that premise 6 is going to be linguistically dependent upon some equivocation between concept and reference. Just to be clear, what do you define a reference to be, retard?
What do I define a reference to be? Yeah, a reference just going to be something that, well, I mean, I think a referent is just going to be like something that refers to something else.
And what does it mean for something to refer to something else, retard?
Yeah, what it means to refer to something else is just going to mean that a referent is just going to be the actual thing in reality that a concept refers to. What it means to refer to that is just that there's actually something that exists there. I think concepts.
Okay, so by reference, you say that by reference you mean that the thing which you say by reference you mean the thing that actually exists in reality. So given that definition, concepts would be the subset of the superset, which is reference. There you go.
I think concepts can have no referent.
So what do you think it means for something to be a concept?
A concept
are
is just going to be an
intentional
idea.
states, or are they non-intentional states? Because by definition, they're intentional. And if they're intentional states, then that means they would be referential given your own data. So you kind of just fucked yourself. So that was easy.
Yeah. So so concepts are going to be mental representations with some type of meaning. They can be intentional without or directed at something without requiring that thing to exist. For example,
you said it's a mental representation, so it's representing something. There you go.
Yeah, like for example, you can have intentionality just means aboutness, right? It's directed at something, but you can be directed at non-existent things, right? For example, I can think about unicorns, right? My thought's intentional. It's about unicorns.
Why do you think unicorns
but no unicorns exist?
Unicorns not exist in a part of the external world doesn't mean they do not exist.
They don't exist mind independently.
Externally,
we could say.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that they do not. It doesn't follow from them not existing externally that they would not exist simpliciter. That's a non sequitur. That doesn't follow. Right? So.
Yeah. Well,
I mean. Or?
Well, to be honest, you're actually correct. Unicorns exist as concepts mind dependently. They don't exist mind independently as actual beings, which is exactly my point. Okay. God could be the same, existing as a concept.
So you're moving away from the claim that it is the case that these things do not exist. Rather, they do in fact exist, but mind dependent. So that's a concession in the first place so far. So that's concession noted number one, first concession of the debate. Not to mention, you are literally presupposing that it would be the case that reference is going to be the type of thing which is not compatible with concepts and so far as concept is not the subset.
Wait, do you take it to be the? Do you take? Yeah, I mean, I think the concepts they exist mind dependently. The question on the table, which I'm pretty sure, is that whether God exists only mind dependently or also mind independently. That's what your argument's intending to prove, correct? Yeah, I don't think
it's just saying that God does not exist mind dependently given the characteristics of God, given the definitional characteristics of God. He could not be mind dependent. Any contentions? What's your objection?
Yeah, my objection is just going to be something. Yeah,
30 seconds remaining.
Oh, 30. Yeah, okay, the objection is just going to be that you're asserting that God's definitional characteristics make it impossible for God to be only mind dependent. But definitional characteristics don't determine what exists, right? For example, we can have a concept of something like a largest prime number that has the definitional characteristic of larger than all other primes. That doesn't
What's
mean
the
the
proof of this
largest prime
claim?
actually exists.
What's the
The
proof of the
proof of
claim
what
that
claim?
definitional characteristics cannot determine whether or not something
This
exists
will
externally?
end. This will win in the first affirmative cross examination. Now
Okay.
we will move into the negation cross
Okay,
examination.
sure.
Just remember, you can say you can reclaim your time if you're individual. If the other individual is actively not answering the question or is actively not understanding it, and I will put that time back on the clock, and you can re-ask it.
Awesome.
Yeah, so you said what's the proof of the claim? Actually, I think the burden is on you to show that they can determine existence, right? You're making a positive
Yes,
claim.
of
But
course.
here's why they can't, right? I can define something like the necessarily existing
Wait, I'm
perfect
examining
triangle.
your view now, so I'm going to be the one asking the questions first, and then you respond because you're on your position, right? So, you made like a claim that it is the case that these things, like you cannot deduce from definitional characteristics about what is in fact true of reality or what exists. What's the justification for this? Like, do you have any sound argument for this proposition, or just making baseless pontification? Just curious.
Yeah, so the argument for that is just going to be the fact that I can define. Well, actually, wait, are you agreeing with me?
Me asking you a question is not the same as agreeing with you, Voltaire. You might want to try the
You said
conversation better if you want to win this debate.
okay. Well, I mean, I can do like a simple proof. I define something like the maximally perfect pizza. And what it means to be perfect is that it necessarily exists by definition.
Wait, what's premise one?
Oh, what's premise one?
Yeah, we can be a particularist. We can say that in some cases, or in most cases, definitional characteristics do not actually have any impact on what exists externally, and believe that there are exceptions to this principle. Why is that logically
Yeah,
contradictory?
I have to step in here. Cap, this is your cross examination. You ask the questions with your cross examination. I will be starting back the timer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I
What?
can easily just
No, he was doing
give a
cross-examination
formal
on my
argument.
part originally. I was not the one asking questions on my end, so I don't know what you're talking about.
You
Well, I can give
Who?
like a premise argument for it. Um, I
Yeah.
can define. Well,
Uh,
if premise one is just going to be if definitional characteristics determine what exists in reality, then anything defined with existence properties what exists. Premise two is just going to be that
how does that
I can
follow? Why
define.
is it the case that that's a true conditional sentence?
Yeah, because the conditional is saying if these characteristics determine what exists in reality,
Wait, hold on.
and then it
Them being
follows that.
able to determine what exists in reality is not the same as them determining this universal, right? So you can believe that in one case, at the very least, there's a fact out there which is about existence, which it determines externally, but in every other case, it does not determine the fact. So I don't see why the consequence, which is going to be a universal claim, is going to be something which necessarily follows, or even follows at all, from the antecedents of that conditional proposition.
Yeah, well, I mean, the reason why are you saying that just because they don't always determine it doesn't mean they never do? You're claiming that there can be some type of special exception?
Yep, that's logically possible. Why is it logically impossible? That's the claim you're making because you're saying they cannot determine this. The word cannot there's a modal verb, so why would that be impossible? Like, what's the logical contradiction?
Well, I don't think that's going to be impossible. I was saying the definitional characteristics, if they always determine it, because that's what I was under the impression that you were
I'm not
saying.
making the claim that
I
they
think,
always determine this. That it doesn't follow from me appealing to definitional characteristics of God and say that given these definitional characteristics of God in this particular case, God exists external. It doesn't follow from me agreeing with this proposition that I believe that definitional characteristics in every other case about every other given concept is going to determine something existing externally. These are two radically independent propositions, and so I'm trying to understand why are these two propositions exclusive conditions? Why are they exclusive conditions? Tell me.
well, I don't think they're exclusive, but the burden would actually be on you then if you're claiming that God is a
So
special
that means you can
exception to
say,
prove it, right? What makes I didn't.
The
I didn't
point
make
is,
that
you made
claim.
the claim they cannot
I was under the
determine
impression that you were
whether or not
saying.
something exists externally. That was the claim you made. So you're now agreeing that they can determine this, and you're agreeing that the possibility of
The
such
point
that
is that
makes
it
the claim you
doesn't.
made exactly incorrect.
Well, I was under the
Now you're going to
impression
want
that
to change the
definitional
claim, and you want to hedge your
characteristics
claim.
don't comment on these type of things.
The point of
That was
making it
that
is
was the
simply
impression that
that
I was
you
under.
talking about, you given one example which it does not give us any informational content about what exists externally. It's not identical to you proving that in this case it does not determine.
Oh well, I mean that's fine. If I mean I can agree to that. Then
Okay,
fine.
so
I
you
mean your
agree that the
argument's
claim you
assuming
made,
that
which is
God.
that they do not determine. So you agree the claim you made, which is that they cannot determine this is false. That claim is false because now you're agreeing that it is in fact theoretically possible and logically possible for you to use definitional characteristics to
There
make
are 30
synthetic a
seconds
Yeah,
priori
it's
judgments about the
remaining.
possible.
external world.
Yeah, I mean it's possible, sure. But now the
Okay,
burden
so you
is
can
on
do the
you to
back
say
roll down.
that
So that's
since.
basically it.
Yeah, so now we would just need the argument that since God has these definitional characteristics, then God exists because you're using those definitional
Do you
characteristics
agree
to
that
prove that God exists.
analytic facts are things? Do you agree that analytic facts are things which hinges on definitional characteristics? And if so, would you say they're logically necessarily sure?
What was the question?
This
If
this
the analytic
will this
facts
will
agree on
ha-
hinge on definitional characteristics?
this
I think
will
Haru said
end
the timer is up or something.
yeah.
Open dialogue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were
Okay,
doing
so we
2
can just
rounds of
To be
cross
honest, I just want the
finish what
examination.
you're
argument.
on.
To be honest, yeah, I just want the
You're
argument
Okay.
dodging my
that
question.
if
You're not
God
going to run
has
it from the
these.
question, though. So I asked you a question, so I'm asking you,
We
we're going to
we
re-ask
were
Well,
it.
to
we
be
were
clear,
doing 2
before that, I asked you for the argument, and then you proceeded to ask me a question.
I'm going to
So
re-ask
we're
the
gonna go
question. I'm not
back.
going to run away. So I'm going to
No,
re-ask the
we're gonna go
question, right?
back
So
to
the
the
question
question
just
that
for
I
a
retorted.
asked,
reminder,
which
we
was
were
gonna be
doing
what's
2
the
We're not going to
rounds
do
of
argument.
this.
cross
We're not going to do this. So
examinations.
first and foremost,
Yeah,
I
we're
asked
not
you for
gonna
an
do this,
argument.
right? You're not gonna dodge. You're not
Is
gonna
the time
dodge
retarded?
the question that I'm asking. I asked you to
Nowhere
render
this
an
guy's like
argument
being a
and prove
debate
it, and then you
robot by using
proceeded
the dodgeball
to
debate
ask me a
strategy,
question.
right?
So
Like
go
no one's
ahead.
doing this. Surely you don't think you're looking
Just
good
render
right
the
now,
argument.
right? You have not proven the claim that definitional characteristics cannot determine things about external reality. In fact, you can see that.
Yeah, just a friendly reminder. We were doing 2 rounds of cross examinations as stated into the opening. So this will start the first round. The second round, affirmative cross examinations.
Had no
TKA is
clue.
taking the affirmative position. So TKA,
I have
you
no
can start
idea
your
why the
second
mod is
round of.
telling me what to argue. I'm gonna have to call in Autumn to basically put a
No,
muzzle on this. You
I'm
don't
telling
just
you
step
the
into the
format of the debate.
conversation. It's an
I
open
was telling you the
dialogue. What are you
format.
talking
Hold on,
about?
hold on. It's open
It's an
dialogue. Let's just
open
let them
dialogue,
talk.
you dumb retard. You don't step into an open
Autumn.
dialogue and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna mute you while I'm trying to give an argument."
No.
Are you
Let's. It's
stupid?
an open
It's an
dialogue.
open
So then
dialogue.
you're.
Let
Wait, I
me
want
finish
to
my
hold
point.
on.
I don't want any other person to mute me again. Okay,
I
because we have
know.
this on
To
the
Hold
be
on. I
recording.
won't
So
mute
honest, I
you.
don't
hold on,
Chill.
just to
think a
be.
lot
Hold
of
on.
Let me
this.
finish my point. Let me finish talking. So just to be clear, since we have this on the recording, you guys are going to be looking bad, not me, because you guys are just going to be looking at the retard
I was
on the
Wait.
told
recording, not me.
2 rounds of
So
Hold on,
cross
Haru.
yeah, you
examination.
guys just going to give us
Haru.
a
I
bad
had this.
reputation.
Hold
Yeah.
on. I have this written down. So there was some confusion on this originally, and I explicitly asked Haru, can you explain the structure of the cross examination?
Mhm.
Because there was like some vagueness to it. Haru responded with affirmation, negation in that order.
We're not
So
even in
there,
cross
that meant you
examination.
were
We're in open dialogue right now.
no. I know. Chill. That was for the cross examination portion of the debate. Thus far, there has only been one affirmation and one negation. So that would follow necessarily that we're on the second affirmation of the cross examination and not the open dialogue portion of the debate. If you and Cap agree to not do a second round of cross examinations, then we can go ahead and go to the open dialogue. But it was stated
All
in
right.
that
So, Kev, do you
in an
agree on this or
explicit
no?
way.
To be clear, I do agree, but before you asked me the question about the analytic facts,
Okay,
I
so we
specifically
need no more
recall
yapping. So you're gonna
asking.
just not run away from the question. You made
No,
the
we don't
claim
need
that
you to yap.
definitional
Right
characteristics
before
cannot
you asked
determine.
me.
You
Hold
said
on, slow
definitional
down,
characteristics
calm
cannot. Don't let
down,
me get
calm
rhetorical.
down.
Don't let me get rhetorical.
Just
First warning,
relax.
kid.
I was in the
First
middle of
warning.
speaking. You
First
interrupted
warning.
me.
First warning. Cause I
I
was
would
the one who was
appreciate if you
asking
want
you
to
the
be
question. You're
cordial.
running to right now. You
I
made
would
the claim
appreciate
that
if you want to be cordial
definitional
and stop
characteristics
interrupting. Right?
cannot
I'm gonna keep
determine things
speaking.
about the
All right, thank you.
external reality. We can
So
ask
if you
everyone
want
in
to
the
be
voice. We can
cordial,
even ask Karu,
if you want
Karan,
to be
Tristan, every single
cordial,
person that heard you made this very obvious claim. Then you moved
yeah.
on from
Well,
this claim and
if
conceded that proposition. You made a new claim. Stop talking while I'm talking. When I'm talking, you stay quiet,
if you want
Bitcoin.
to be
Now,
cordial
then
and actually
afterwards, you
let me
made the claim that they
respond,
do
I would
not
appreciate it.
determine this in this
I'm
particular
not listening
instance.
to
Now I'm
anything
going
you're
to ask you
saying.
again. I'm going to re-ask. I'm going to re-ask the question, which you've been dodging from, right? So what's the proof for that claim that it does not determine this in this case? Or are you willing to retract that claim and so you're skeptical towards the proposition, and then you're going to be asking me to prove the contrary proposition? It's your choice, retard.
Yeah. So notice how I stopped and I let this guy speak. I would appreciate it if he does the
Yeah,
same.
because you're my bitch. Of course, you have to
Before
stop.
you asked me the question about the analytic truths, I asked you to give an argument for the fact that this is a special exception in this case, and then you proceeded to ask me a question, which I don't think is relevant. So I would appreciate an argument that
Yo,
God is going to be some type of
line about what
special
happened is not going to help you
exception.
out here. But I'll just give the argument. I'll just give the argument. I'll
Oh, you
just
think I'm
lead you
lying?
through the argument. I know you're lying, retard. I've already proven that. So we're going to just go
Just
over
lay
to
the
the actual
argument down.
argument for the claim. Yeah, I'm going to write down the arguments, or not even write down the argument. I'm just going to lead you through the arguments, right? Just to simply yes or no questions for each premise. So, yes or no, would you agree that things which are going to be based on definitional characteristics, rather, are going to be necessary and the sufficient conditions for determining analytic facts? Like, for example, the definitional characteristic of being unmarried and being a man is going to determine that it is analytically true that a bachelor is an unmarried man. Do you agree with this proposition? Yes or no?
Analytic truth. So, well, I'm kind of unclear on what that's asking. If you're just asking me,
Do you know what an analytic fact is in logic, retard? Or should I have to school you on that too?
yeah, I'm clear on what analytic fact is, but I think
Okay,
analytic
so are those
truths,
facts based off definitions or no?
the analytic truths are true by definition, yes. But that doesn't tell us
Okay,
what
gotcha,
exists.
cool. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's all I
All
asked you.
bachelors
Okay,
are
cool.
married
So the
is
definition of
analytically
God.
true.
So stop talking, retard.
Hold
My
on,
turn.
maybe you would let me
Remember the
finish.
warning.
Look,
Remember what
all
Daddy told you. What Daddy
bachelors.
told you when he's talking, you stay quiet. Okay, so
Well, I
just
was
watch
in
your
the
mouth
middle
for a
of
second, boy.
speaking, so I would
So,
appreciate if you stopped interrupting,
well,
right?
I'm the one asking the
Compose
questions. You asked me
yourself.
for the argument. I'm trying to give the argument, and now
Compose
you're going to speak
yourself.
over me to derail the
Compose
conversation for my
yourself
argument. Well, it's not
and
going to work with me.
behave. Right,
Yeah,
you need
these
some
low tier
manners. I need you to
Jedi mind
compose
tricks from
yourself
this
and
low tier
conduct
dog
yourself
is not going to work with
accordingly.
me, dude. What you're going to
Look,
do though? What you're going to
all
do though is
bachelors.
engage with the argument. All right,
Yeah,
stop being a
maybe if you
dodgeball
let me
athlete and
engage
engage with the
instead of
argument.
interrupting me every time I try to
I'm
fucking
waiting
speak, I
for it
would
to actually
appreciate
stop
it
talking
if
for
you
me to give
conduct
the
yourself
argument, for it to engage
accordingly
with
and
the
have
arguments,
some
retard.
fucking manners. All right.
I don't have
All
manners to like
bachelors are
dogs like you,
unmarried
for example. You're
is
like a
analytically
subhuman.
true.
So just answer the question, right?
Yeah,
I just
maybe you
want
would
you to
stop
just the actual
interrupting.
points here. Look, so the point I'm making here simply, you agreed, we both shook hands on this, that analytic facts are going to be facts that are true by definition. Agreed, we both agree on this. We are both in agreement on that proposition. Now, the
Hmm.
statement, well, we know that God, given the definition which has been established from the beginning of this conversation, is God is an omnipotent, omniscient creator. Given that definition, right, we can then say that it is going to be true by definition that God is going to be an omnipotent, omniscient creator, given the definition that's been employed in this conversation. Now, then, right, since that's going to be true by definition, it's going to be logically necessarily true. And if it is logically necessarily true, then clearly if there's going to be some sort of claim which contradicts any of these concepts or any of these characteristics, like for example, God being a concept or God being mind dependent, then it is going to be the case that such thing is going to be necessarily false, because we know in logic contradictions are necessarily false. We can get into that pretty easily. So really and truly, you're in a double bind here. You now have to agree that it is the case that this is true by definition, which results in me demonstrating the contradiction in God being a fictional object, or you're going to have to basically retract the claim that analytic facts are going to be logically necessarily true, which in any case is going to be you being an inconsistent reasoner and debater. Pick a struggle, retard.
Yeah, so the problem is that analytic truths don't tell us what exists, right? All bachelors are unmarried is analytically true, but it doesn't tell us whether or not any bachelors fucking exist. Analytic necessity is about logical relationships between the concepts, right? It doesn't comment on what exists in reality. You can't make existence analytically necessary, and the existence is synthetic, not analytic. You can define necessarily existing being, but that doesn't mean such a being exists. The definition can be coherent without a fucking referent existing, right? In the same way maybe in the same fucking way, um, there's
Take
no
your
double
time,
bind
retard. We're with
because
you. We have hope in you, son. Take your time.
sure, it's analytically true that if God exists, God is omnipotent, omniscient, and creator. That's true. But God exists is not analytically true. That's a synthetic claim about reality. The concept can have necessary properties without God actually existing, right? I can say something like God must be omnipotent if God
Yeah, that
exists.
just begs the question against the claim,
There's
right?
no
So you're just being
contradiction.
you're
The
just
definition tells us what God would be
right now you're
if
experiencing
God
the low IQ
existed.
retard moment.
What's
Right
the
now you're just experiencing
contradiction?
right now. Just stop talking, kid. Holy shit up. Right now you're
State
experiencing
the
the low IQ
contradiction
retard
clearly and
moment
how
where
it's
to give a
derived.
non sequitur. You're not gonna do this weird shtick where you believe that you talking over the person and demanding the contradiction is gonna give you some retarded dominance, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna respond to your points first and then reprove the points I've already proven. So basically, we both agree that analytic facts are logically necessarily true. So that means for any claim about the given concept, which is in contradiction with the analytic facts, would be logically impossible. So it's going to be necessarily false. Now, the point there is whether or not it would be the case that God existence as a fictional object is going to be something which is in contradiction with God being an omnipotent, omniscient creator, which you agree is going to be true by definition, hence rendering it to be logically necessary. Now, the idea is I can easily show the contradiction, but I want you to first admit that if it was to be the case that there is in fact a contradiction with God existent as a mind-dependent object, given the definition of God, then it would follow that God would have to exist as a mind-independent object, given the true disjunction. Do we agree with this? Yes or no, retard, before I give the contradiction? Don't be a stubborn
Um,
bastard, just respond to the question with a yes or no. Don't dodge.
if you show there's a contradiction, um, well, to be clear, I'm kind of not
You're
sure on a
confused?
lot of things.
Yeah, I know you're
I
confused. You're
won't
retarded. I'll do
pre-commit to
that
your
to clear up for you, retard.
conclusion. You would need to show me. To be honest, no, I won't pre-commit to your conclusion. Show me the alleged contradiction first. If there's a genuine logical contradiction, which is
Are
going
you
to be
going to answer
the
my
same
question? Yes or
subject,
no? What was it? Was it a yes or no, retard?
yeah, the answer is no. You have to show me the alleged contradiction
So,
first.
retard, we're going to just run this over because the retard just doesn't want to actually address the points here, right? So, is it the case that for anything, any proposition which is incompatible with an analytic fact, it is necessarily false? Is that true? Yes or no?
Yeah, if it's incompatible with the analytic truth, yeah.
Okay, so dumb fuck. If it was to be the case that the proposition that God exists as a mere imagination or concept is incompatible with the analytic facts about God, then you'd have to agree that it is going to be necessarily false. There you go. So now I'm going to give the contradiction. The contradiction is going to be that an omnipotent being, right? An omnipotent being has maximal causal power, insofar as it can actualize all logical possibilities. It has maximal causal power. So if it has maximal causal power, then for any object which was to cause an omnipotent being, would have superior causal power to it because it has more causal sovereignty, and causal sovereignty is going to be something which is sufficient for determining causal power. However, it is not going to be the case that if God, or rather, if God was to be mind dependent, it would be the case that he's being caused by minds because he's dependent on minds, right? So the idea is simply it would follow from this position that God is both omnipotent and not omnipotent, given the fact that God both has maximal causal power and he's caused by minds, thus rendering the idea that minds have superior causal sovereignty over things in the universe because it is something which is before it in the causal chain. Very simple argument. What's your contention, retard?
Yeah, that's not going to be a contradiction because they're about different subjects. To say God
You
is
don't think it
caused
is the
would
case that
be,
God being both
it would mean
omnipotent
the
and not
concept.
omnipotent is a contradiction? You don't think so?
Let me finish. To say God is caused in this case would mean the concept of God is caused by mind. God is not caused means the being God would be the first cause. Those are different subjects.
We're
One's about
talking
the
about if the
concept,
being
one's
is the
about the being.
concept or is not a concept, right? We're talking about if it is just a mere concept or not, right? So if it is just a mere concept, then it is mind dependent. However, if it is just a thing which exists in the actual world, which is going to be instantiating a mere concept or a concept rather, then it's going to be mind independent. That's the whole idea. So you're just shadowboxing again, you're just not even tracking the argument, and you're building up a straw man to slap it down. You won't even attack the actual argument first. Secondly, as to
If
emphasize the point I was
and
making,
if God is a mere
you think for some
concept,
stupid
hold on.
reason. Hold on, you calm down, kid, calm down. Okay, put that pacifier in your mouth right now. Just shut up for a second, okay? So I'm telling you here that with respect to the proposition that God is and is not omnipotent. How in the actual fuck is that not a contradiction?
Yeah,
How
the
is it not
reason why that's not
contradictory,
going to
son?
be. Yeah, because a contradiction requires the same subject with contradictory properties, right? You're saying the
How am I
concept
not
of God
talking
is
about the
caused
same
by mind.
subject?
Yeah, you're saying the concept of God is caused by minds. God as a being is uncaused. Those are obviously two different subjects. If God is a concept,
Nope, I'm
is
not saying
just
the
a concept
concept of God.
merely. If God is merely a concept, there is no God as a being. So the second statement has no
This
subject.
guy's
You
retarded.
can't have a contradiction
Yeah, you're
when one of
retarded.
the propositions has no subject.
Is
In
it
the
the
same
case?
way,
Is it the case that? Is
when
it
I
the case that saying that? Is it the case that saying a bachelor is a woman is identical to saying that a bachelor is both a man and not a man? Yes or no?
huh?
If I say a bachelor is a woman, and I'm going to say that that's going to entail that the bachelor is both a man and not a man, we agree that the claim there is contradictory. Yes or no?
Yes, that contradicts the
Okay,
definition,
same
but
logic
that's because
applies
we're
here,
talking
retard.
about.
So likewise, don't run. Likewise, if I say that God is a concept and that entails God being both omnipotent and not omnipotent, where is the symmetry breaker there? How would that not be a contradiction? We're talking about the same thing. The
Yeah,
same thing here is
because.
going to be the hold on, retard, stop talking. Same thing here is going to be the thing God, right, which could or could not be mind dependent, right, epistemically speaking, right. So we're trying to evaluate if this thing is a mere concept or not. We're not even given any sort of metaphysical profile analysis yet. That's going to be saved for later on. Right, what God is an omnipotent, omniscient creator. Now, what you're investigating here is if that specific property is going to be in contradiction with that given object being a mere concept. The answer is yes. I've proven this. I've told you why. Right. So now
Do you
you can't say
think
I'm
if
talking
I
about different
say?
preference.
Do you think if I say a concept exists?
No. Show me
Um,
the symmetry breaker first between the example I've given
wait,
and the God example.
I just have a real quick
I've asked
question.
you for the symmetry breaker.
Do you think if I say God is just a concept,
Answer the
that
question. What's the
entails that
symmetry
there's?
breaker?
I mean, you're actually ducking now because I was in the middle of asking a
Waiting for the
question before
answer.
you asked that.
What's the
So
symmetry? I've
maybe
asked
you
you the
should
question
stop
long ago.
ducking and
We
let me
can
get the
go on the
question out.
recording. You're
Yeah, we
asking
can
me a
go on the
question to
recording.
veer from my question to not answer my question. I'm going to re-ask the question. The bachelor example and the God case we're talking about here. What's the symmetry breaker? That was the question I've asked you from 2 minutes ago or 1 minute ago. You have not answered the question yet. So answer that question first, then you can ask me your dumb fuck your questions. Okay?
Perfect. The symmetry breaker is existence. In the bachelor example, we're assuming bachelors exist and asking what properties they have.
How does existence
Bachelor
have
is a
a
woman.
role in contradictions? Like you can
Bachelor is
have
a woman
contradictory claims
contradicts.
about things which externally exist or not. And the claim is about existence, by the way, so that's retarded because the claim there is literally saying that there are bachelors which are women. A bachelor is a woman, right? That's a claim about reality. I'm saying that it is true in
Yeah,
reality
in
that
the God
bachelor.
example, I'm not assuming that God
Okay,
exists as a
so
being.
what are you
I'm
talking
saying
about?
only the concept exists.
You said there is an existence symmetry breaker. There's not because in both claims
Hmm.
you autistic moron, you humanoid, you manlet. It is the case that it is true that both claims are about existence. They're about what exists externally. I'm saying that in the first claim about bachelor, I'm saying that it is true of the external world that there is in fact a bachelor, which is a woman, and you believe that's contradictory. Same logic applies to God here. So what's going to be the symmetry breaker? You cannot say existence because both
Yeah,
claims are
because
about
I'm not
existence.
granting. I'm saying only the concept exists. There's no actual God being existing to have any
What's
properties.
the symmetry
What's
breaker,
the
retard?
contradiction with that?
What's the symmetry breaker?
Yeah, because in the bachelor example, we're assuming bachelors exist and asking what fucking properties they have. In the God
No,
example,
we're not
I'm
assuming
not assuming
bachelors
God
exist.
fucking exists as a
Is this guy
being. I'm
retarded?
saying only the concept exists.
Why would it be
That's
the
the
case
symmetry
that
breaker.
the bachelor example, as you agree, this contradicts her, but not the God example? Why would that not be the case? That's the question I'm asking, just to refresh your pea-sized brain. Why would that not be contradictory?
Yeah, the
Why?
bachelor example is contradictory because you're attributing contradictory properties to the same existing thing. The God example
And
is
why
not
do you think that's
contradictory
why do you
because
think I'm
I'm
attributing
not
contradictory
attributing.
properties? Why do you think I'm
Huh?
attributing contradictory properties to it? Why do you think so about the bachelor case? Just curious, just to see if you're on track with the
Because
conversation.
of an
Why do you
entailment
believe
of
it?
the analytic truth if the subject there exists in reality. Keep in
Interesting.
mind the
And
if the
likewise, in the
subject
God
exists in
example,
reality.
and likewise in the God example, you low IQ imbecile, there's an entailment from being omnipotent, which is having maximal causal power, meaning that you're the first cause. And so if you're mind dependent, you're not the first cause. There you go. That was an easy checkmate, you idiots. So you'd have to now agree that that is also
That's only
contradictory. It's a
true.
very simple argument.
That's only true if God exists. That's analytically true.
You
But
can
that
say the
doesn't mean
same
God
thing about
fucking
bachelors,
exists.
retard. This guy's
Are you an
autistic.
idiot?
You can say the same thing about the bachelor. He's actually retarded. You can say the same thing about the bachelor example by saying, "Oh, it's only true that it is contradictory if bachelors exist." It doesn't matter if bachelors exist externally or not, retard. It would still be contradictory to make that claim. Do you think contradictions hinges on extensional states of concepts? Contradictions are going to be
To be
evaluated.
clear, I don't think you
Okay,
dealt with
you're
what I
retarded.
said.
Contradictions are derived.
There's an
I'm going to tell you
entailment.
two ways. I'm going to tell you two ways. Shut up, retard. I'm going to teach you something. Okay, so take that pencil, take that notebook, and start writing down stuff. Okay, there are two ways in logic you can derive a contradiction or establish a contradiction. One is through derivability, which is going to be you derive the contradiction given the axioms of the formal system in classical logic. The other way is by deriving the contradiction on the basis of some incompatibility with a semantic entailment. Neither of these options, which is universally proven and agreed upon by logicians, are going to have any sort of content about the extensional states. It doesn't matter if this thing is going to exist or not externally, or the person is making this assumption. That's irrelevant to why this contradiction. The contradiction is not based on the extensional states of the concept. It's based off the primary intentional states.
Do you understand, right, that if no God exists, nothing instantiates that definition, correct?
Are you retarded enough to believe that this actually
That
just
was a
just
yes
a while ago?
or no. Wait, that was yes or no.
That is yes or no. Asking me a question does not address my point. Are you going to
Wait.
debunk it or no?
That was a yes or no, right? I've agreed to your questions when you've asked me questions.
Are you autistic?
So now you have to answer, right? If you want to keep dodging, you can dodge.
I gave an argument as to why your claim is false, and your response
if
is
no
asking
God
me yes or no
exists, wait. If no God exists, nothing instantiates the definition, right? So you're scared to
Do you
answer?
think this is relevant to my argument?
It's definitely relevant. So, are you going to answer?
You have not even debunked the claim of mentioned. What are you talking? You're not even talking about my claim. My claim is talking about contradictions not being dependent upon extensional states and having nothing to do with extensional states. Your question is not even talking about that argument.
You weren't understanding what I've been saying this whole time.
You're not understanding
so
why
answer
your
the
point
question.
is not even in response to my question or an argument.
If no God exists, then nothing instantiates that definition, right?
Were you asking me the same logical questions? I'm going to give you rhetorical dominance.
Wait, you're actually ducking. This is fucking crazy.
Saying that someone is ducking is not a good rhetorical strategy either. So
It's a really simple question.
It's a really
if you're
simple
scared to
argument to
answer,
given.
it's
Are you going to
fine.
respond to the argument or are you going to keep on asking me derailed, irrelevant questions? It's up to you.
Yeah,
It's
my
your
my
choice.
response is that if no God exists, then nothing instantiates the definition. The concept
How is
can
this about the
causes a
nature of
definitional
contradictions and how
feature.
they're derived, retard?
The point is, right? If
How is that
no God
belief relevant
exists,
to me talking about the nature of contradictions? How is that relevant to it?
yeah, it's relevant because you're saying that
What am I saying? Yeah,
contradiction is
tell
purely
me. What am I saying?
intentional.
I'm curious.
Yeah,
Could you
you're just
tell me?
saying
Hold on, just to be clear, do you know what intentional states are?
about meanings.
Well, yeah, what are intentional states? What is a primary intention?
What's a primary intention?
There's 1 minute
Yep.
remaining.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm pretty sure intention just means something about or something about it.
Yeah,
Or
you're
like about the
retarded. I'm
meaning.
talking about intentional with the S, retarded, not intentional with the T. Yeah, that's different.
Yeah, it's about meanings.
Do you think that's actually sufficiently captures the concept?
It's the isness.
No, you're talking
I'm pretty
about
sure.
his Haiti. You can have
But look,
isness, which is not
if the
actually about
contradiction is
intentional
purely
states.
about the
You
meanings
can have an
of
isness
words.
claim, which is about extensional states. What are you talking about?
To be clear,
You're
if the
conflating
contradiction is purely
hold on, stop talking. You're conflating intentional with the T and intentional with the S. These are two different
no,
things.
I said intentional with an S. But
You
look, to be
originally
clear, if the
defined intentional
contradiction
to be aboutness. That's
This
the
will
intentional with the
conclude
T
the 20
definition.
minute open dialectic.
You said what, sorry?
This will conclude the 20-minute open dialectic.
So dirty iPad ass
giving
on,
my-
nigga. Let them debate, nigga.
Focus, chill. Chill,
Let
bro.
them debate. Let them
No way, this
debate.
guy's back, bro.
Wait, chill. Hold on. So
Yeah.
since I've given my introductions first, I think it is pretty fair for him to give his conclusions first, right? So,
Yeah,
the base
like in
basically finished.
in the formation of the debate, there will be a 5-minute closer affirmative position and 5-minute closer negation position. TK, your first word, I'll start the timer.
I thought I was given the conclusions last because I've already went first with the introductions. Hello.
I
Do you
yeah,
have
I
a
thought
preference either way?
yeah.
I've already went first the first time, so it's now his turn to go first.
Do both dialect do both debaters agree upon that, Cap? Would you have your closing statement? First.
Yeah, I can go first.
Okay, your first word, I start the timer. It's 5 minutes, I'll give you a 1-minute warning.
Okay, so let me just like get rid of all the jargon. My opponent's argument was basically, depending on one claim, it's logically impossible for God to exist merely as a concept. He was saying that if God is mind dependent, then there's a contradiction because the concept is caused by minds, but God is not defined as the first cause. Here's the problem, right? There's only, I think we were talking past each other, right? There were two completely different things we were talking about. One is just going to be what properties does the concept include in its definition? The concept of God definitionally includes something like omnipotent, omniscient, first cause. That's what the word means. But the second part is, does anything in reality possess those properties? Does an actual being exist that is the first cause? Like, these are two separate questions. If God is just a concept, then yes, the concept exists in minds and is caused by human thought. And yes, that the concept means first cause, but no actual being exists to possess that property. My opponent tried to argue that this creates a contradiction at the level of meaning, but it doesn't, right? The concept can mean first cause while existing only as a mental construct. There's no contradiction between the concept having definitional content and that content being, or that concept being mind dependent. Saying the concept of God is mind dependent doesn't contradict the concept of what that concept means any more than saying the concept of a unicorn is mind dependent. Contradicts the unicorns are defined as having horns. So he's been jargoning, being sophisticated for no reason. But underneath all that, he's just trying to define God into existence, right? He's saying God is defined as the first cause, therefore God must exist. But definitions don't create reality. I can define anything with any properties, right? I can define the necessary existing perfect dragon, right? That doesn't mean it exists. The fundamental question isn't whether we can coherently define God. We can, but it's whether or not reality matches that definition. My opponent's argument hasn't answered that question. He's actually ducked a bunch of questions that I've been trying to ask him multiple times.
You sound like a girl.
Existence is a fact about the world. His premise 6 just obviously fails. I can see the rest of my time.
Yeah, you had 2 minutes and 42 seconds left on the clock. TK,
Yeah,
when you say your
alrighty.
first word, I'll start the timer. It's a 5-minute. Negate. It's a 5-minute closer.
Alrighty, so I'm just gonna delve into stuff, right? So, for someone who had so much confidence, had so much, shit talk before this debate, he did a really poor job, actually. And let's just go over the reasons as to why he did an obviously poor job in this one-sided conversation. First off, he made the claim that definitional characteristics cannot determine facts about what exists externally. Then retracted that claim by agreeing it's logically possible. That was the first concession. The second part is basically him granting the idea that things that are incompatible with analytic facts are going to be things which are going to be the types of things which are contradictory, and then believed for some odd reason that my claim about why this contradictory is going to hinge on the assumption that God exists, which I've already pointed out that existential assumptions or ontological commitments are going to be irrelevant to how we derive contradictions, which he has not even addressed, right? Not to mention he's given the false analogy of the dragon. We can demonstrate why dragons do not actually have this sort of property by demonstrating the contradiction, right? If you try to say that you can have a dragon which is omnipotent or some dumb stuff like that, you could say that that's not possible because a dragon is a physical object. Is it extended in space-time? If it is extended in space-time, then it's not omnipotent. We can demonstrate contradictions in literally every single example which we use by the same logic. So that doesn't even perfectly mirror my argument. He talks about me defining things into existence, which is just another low tier blunder from this low tier piece of trash. Right? No one is defining anything into existence. I'm deriving something on the basis of a definition. It's called facts based upon semantic entailment, not the same as analytic facts. If you're going to be saying that something is true given the definition, like you're defining something into existence, that's identical to me baking in the existence concept into God, which is not what I was doing. That's going to be an analytic fact. The proposition is going to be a synthetic a priori fact based on the facts which are going to be derived from the definition. So he keeps on confusing himself, doesn't really understand the argument, never address the contradiction, never address the entailments of omnipotence with respect to having maximal causal power, which entails first cause relation, which is incompatible. And there repeats, incompatible with being dependent and caused by minds. So really and truly, he just got, rhetorically dick slapped, eviscerated, decimated, annihilated, and obliterated and pissed on. That's really just it for the recording, and I'm glad to have this on the recording, and it'll be fun to see my audience's perspectives on this when this gets uploaded on my channel. So that's basically for the recording. So for Karen and Focus and everyone else who's recording, you guys can end the recording now.
Yeah, so now we
Dog
will
shit.
have judge vote.
Alright, hold on, let me
Terrible.
just hit end.